Hello and welcome to Money with Mac and G. Today we're going to meet a young man who helped lead his high school team to number 5 at the Air Force Association Cyber Patriot National Competition. He knows over 12 different computer languages. This young man started a business in college. He was then accepted to Y Combinator in Silicon Valley, which is the #1 accelerator in the entire world. He then went on to sell his business and got acquired, and he was actually nominated for Forbes 30 Under 30 for Education. Stay tuned for this limited edition for some of our entrepreneurs, and we're going to get up close and personal with Jacobi Petrucciani. Hello, and welcome to Money with Mac and G, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Jacobi Petrucciani, just an extraordinary young man, and I'm so lucky that he's on the show today, and his father, Tony Petrucciani, is here as well, and we're going to get to know him just a little bit better. How you doing today, Jacobi?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and we're really happy to have you here today. Tony, are you doing all right today?
Doing great, thanks, Uncle Ben.
We have the double Petros in the house today. We're going to be doing more of an adult podcast today, so it's going to be pretty fun.
Frickin' A.
We're going to probably be bleeping quite a few things, and we're doing something a little bit new. We're going to reach into what we call the magic getting to know you jar. Kobe, can you hold that up? Make sure that you see it. There you go. We're going to pull out a question and get it started, and then we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Go ahead, Kobe.
Oh, you want me to pull one right now?
Yeah, and part of the reason that you're here is because you've been successful along the way. You've had a short career so far. Did you want to correct me on that one?
Short career.
Short career.
Short career.
Well, he was a 30 under 30 nominee.
I know. I said nominee, and they're already making fun of me because
he actually did make the 30 under 30s.
Yes, he did on
Allegedly.
the Forbes list. Allegedly. That's right.
Who's the lady from the daytime soap operas that gets nominated all the time and never wins?
I can see her. She's small. Oh, we'll have to look that up later. But
Marta
anyway.
from Arrested Development.
No, not Marta. I can tell this is going to go nowhere fast. Kobe, what's your question?
All right, I got one. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Whoa, that's a good one. What do you want to be when you grow up, Kobe?
Well, I mean, for me, that's kind of exactly where I'm at. Like, I wanted to be doing something in computer science. Pretty much, I mean, where I ended up was pretty good. I mean, helping other people to get into computer science and kind of, just improve themselves and kind of be a force multiplier for whatever industry they're in. And so I'm pretty much where I wanted to be when I was thinking about it when I was little.
Well, I think that's a great place to start, just because maybe that question wasn't the absolute most fascinating for you, just because you're doing what you love to do. Why don't we go ahead and start back just a little ways into your high school career, because that's really where it kind of all started. Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, pretty much.
And what happened in high school? There were some very interesting things that were going on. You went to an interesting high school that gave you a lot of flexibility. And what happened?
Yeah,
Good.
So I had been programming for a bit of time before even high school. But going there, it's one of the only high schools in the state, really, that even have a computer science program, which is what I knew I wanted to do.
And you were in Indiana, right?
Yeah,
so
in Indiana.
Not everybody knows. Go ahead.
But so, got really even further into computer science in high school. Met some pals who were very into that as well, and started just kind of doing contract work for computer science type stuff, making apps for people, making websites for people.
And you had a little bit of a background, right? Because your father, Tony, we joke around quite a bit, but he started a computer company. So maybe you picked up a little bit of that excitement from him.
Absolutely. Yeah, like a lot of that. And I've been very fortunate to have somebody, my father's very technical, got me very interested in it as a child. And that's kind of how I kind of got into more of that.
And we know he was a major geek. And
well, no, I wasn't
Huge nerd.
super geeky. But
you got all the women.
I tell my kid, I just got this one woman.
Oh, wait now.
We'll
That's
talk
my
about
sister, by
we'll
the
talk
way.
about your sister later.
Okay.
No, I didn't know much about the hardware side of things. I mean, of course, you go to school for that. In college, we learned that. But Kobe he got on YouTube, and we got him a soldering iron one Christmas. And he started making little devices. He got more advanced as time went on. But he's like, "Hey, I can make this thing out of a battery and some wires and solder it up and make a little arc welder." And I knew he was working on that, but I didn't really appreciate how much he was using that around the house until I was out grilling one day, and I saw these big scratchy dugout marks on my grill, my stainless steel grill. And he walks out there and go, "Hey, you haven't been arc welding on my grill, have you? And he goes,
Well, that was the start of it all, right? And I heard these stories about you that when you wanted to read a book, you kind of enjoyed reading the books of computer languages. Was that true when I remember?
Yeah, there were a lot of times that, I'd go to Dad's office and, find some books that are on the bookshelf and just grab them and steal them, take them home, read them. Like, he had a lot of books about, the languages they were using, of course, like VB6 and C++.
So he was like, hey, this is just like learning about the dinosaurs back when they were really born.
Wow. So you learned about that. You started reading about that. And I remember, in the intro, we said, over 12 languages, which we know is true, right? But you also got a hold of some of his old computer boxes, right? And you started to take those apart.
Yeah, some of them.
This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Well, you remember, I had like a little cluster I had built out of a few like old PCs, and, and not much you can really use that for as a kid, but just something fun to do, and playing around with that and various Linux distributions, and it was just a lot of learning.
And you just had fun with it. You were just reading. You liked it. Your dad was probably excited about it because you guys could share in some of that. Is that right? You guys had some decent conversations about it?
Well, he went right past me. I mean, back in the day with YouTube and so forth, like we didn't have that when I was a kid.
Right.
They didn't have computers back then.
That's right.
But YouTube, he could, like, if he got stuck on something, he could go and find resources almost anywhere, answering a specific question. So he did a lot of research that way, not only reading, but experimenting. And kids, the funny thing about kids, and you probably know this even with, iPads with the kids today, they're not afraid to push a button.
Yeah,
like,
that's very
let's
true.
push a button, see what happens. Like back in the day, we did that. I was like, oh, you just damaged a $250,000 computer.
And so you just like messing around, having fun, talking to your dad about it. You're in high school, which this high school was a little bit more open, Indiana private school, right?
Yep.
We're going to say Park Tudor because it was Park Tudor. It's one of the best known in Indiana. And you ran into some of your buddies, and wasn't there a teacher involved in this whole thing?
Yeah, so our computer science teacher, one of my favorite teachers ever, Ryan Ritz, he was...
Kudos out to Mr. RR.
Kudos
Way to
to
go.
Ryan Ritz. He just kind of helped us, further our education in computer science related stuff. And, he really encouraged us to continue learning outside of even class. He would take us to the different competitions.
There are competitions for computer science.
Yes, it's a programming competitions. So basically, like we had quite a few of these.
Well, they had whoever could quote the most lines from Big Bang Theory would win.
Oh, okay. Before Big Bang Theory. Okay, got it.
No, it was more like so we would go to various colleges. Like one of the biggest ones was at IUPUI every year. And
so that's Indiana University, Purdue University, and Indianapolis. So the combination of the two commuter schools, just letting the audience know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's down there. And basically what this competition is find a partner, and here's a bunch of problem sets. And you have 2 hours and solve as many of these as you can as fast as you can. And so like they had like a giant leaderboard up on the wall that was like constantly updating, but you'd have like the basic problems, which were pretty simple, and like you basically code up a little solution and submit it to the judges.
Got it.
All the way through like some really advanced topics.
And you dug that.
Yeah. So
these advanced topics would do what? You would just jump in. You'd love those things.
Oh, I absolutely loved that. I was not the best, but I did win a few of these competitions.
Cool.
The math side of things, like I'm pretty into math, but I'm nowhere near as smart as like my younger sister or some of the other people that were at school. But I did have the computer stuff down.
And then when you did that, I think your RR, your instructor over at Park Tudor, Ryan, he encouraged you. And did you guys kind of come up with an idea together, or was it one of your co-founders that kind of came up with this idea for Mimir?
Oh, so that was actually when we were in college.
I thought that it started in high school. Go ahead.
So like I got to know my co-founders really, really well in high school. But that idea did not come about until sophomore year of college.
So before we get there, and I'm sorry to cut you off, I just want to talk about the Patriot games just a minute.
Cyber Patriot?
Because on the outside, this thing is like totally cool, right? I think you and I talked about how many actual jobs are out there for people who want to work in cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
And they were trying to find great talent out there. So they ran this competition throughout the United States, and you can explain it better than I can for sure.
Yeah, so basically it was a cyber defense competition, and so the earlier rounds were all done remotely, and basically they give you a virtual machine, which is just kind of a computer install of some server or some workstation. So they give that to you, and there are known flaws in the security of that system that they give you. And you have to go and try to resolve as many as you can in a limited period of time. And the later rounds of the competition would have multiple instances, multiple computers that all are potentially running different operating systems. And you need to basically harden their security and make sure that you get all of the exploits that somebody's put in place. And so the first year, I was actually one of the founding members of our first team that actually got into a Cyber Patriot competition. This
Excellent.
is the first year actually is where we got to 5th nationally. But I was with one of my co-founders and a couple other people from school. And the final round was, I think, 7 different servers, which were 3 different operating systems. And it was just going in there and trying to harden the security before the red team attacks you, basically. It's like a hacking team. But, it's so much fun, and it's a lot of stuff that's just really good to know and learn about. It's a great learning experience.
So you had this desire for knowledge. You loved what a computer could do. You had the ability to experiment with the grill, right? You had the ability to experiment with some computer boxes that were antiquated. And that all led to just kind of this passion. Would you say it's a passion?
Yeah, I'd say it's a passion.
And so you got real excited about it. You're like, what's my next step? Dad's over there. You probably guided him a little bit, right, to go to school? What are you doing?
Well, yeah, I was just a thought here. He, before he was 18, so this could not be in his permanent record.
Okay.
Anytime we'd go anywhere, he'd get out his phone. He'd have Linux on his phone or something, and he'd hack into, I can't remember where we were one time, some small business restaurant. What's that?
We were in Alaska that one.
Fishing trip in Alaska. And he hacks in, and he's like, hey, Dad, look, here's their QuickBooks, and I can get logged into their QuickBooks off my phone. Like, whoa, okay, enjoy this all you want. Don't actually do any damage. And secondarily is don't get caught after you turn 18 because you go to prison.
All right. So little words of wisdom.
Yeah. So that was what I encouraged him to do is stay out of prison. Apparently it's a bad place.
Great.
I've heard it's bad.
I mean, I've seen the movies. It's not good.
So you went ahead and got through high school. You really enjoyed the open thinking. And then you go on to, did you encourage him to go to Purdue for computer science or?
Well, I wanted him to go to the top school in Indiana, which is Ball State University.
Chirp.
Ball, you, and you.
And you, and you, and you. So, no, I went to Ball State.
Are people afraid of the bird? Chirp, chirp.
Oh, it's the most fierce robin-sized bird on the planet. So, but my wife, his mother, your sister.
Yes.
All 3 of them
all 3
went to Purdue. And although she'll say she didn't influence kids at all, they heard the stories. And so Purdue's kind of like, ooh, that's a top engineering school, computer science, et cetera. So 3 of the 4 kids went there. Did I encourage it? I encouraged all of our kids. We told them the rules you had to live by is 1, you had to graduate high school. Okay. Number 2, you had to graduate from college. 3,
and we need to talk about that. Go ahead.
Then 3, then you get married. Then 4, then you can have kids. Like that was kind of that was
the steps, right?
That were the steps, and I didn't want to try to over engineer the whole thing. It was like, hey, if you get yourself a good education, get yourself a good job, get yourself a good spouse, and then you can have children and you can support your children because that's
the way it goes.
Big thing, right? Yeah.
So then you go to Purdue, and so you did graduate from high school, right? Can we confirm that?
Yes, I have that piece of paper.
Yeah, we're not even sure. We think he may have hacked into this school system and given himself credit so he could get out. Because
I did have the admin password.
Yeah, his second year of computer science in high school, he started getting all A's in every one of his subjects, right?
I wish.
Which was scary because he got an A in math, which is like.
That's not.
I didn't A in English even. That
sketchy.
I had me an A in English.
Super sketchy.
Great. So you went ahead and went on to Purdue. You went into computer science. You kind of got brainwashed by your mother, my sister, right?
Exactly.
That you always bleed gold and what do you call it?
Black and gold.
Black and gold. Jeez, man, I can't remember.
You went there. Hey,
I graduated from IU.
By the way, we said this in the last episode, I think, but Uncle Ben did go to Purdue for a year and then transferred to IU, Indiana University.
I would say it.
And the year that he did, the average IQ went up at both schools.
Wow.
I knew it was
do the
coming.
math on that. Okay. That was below the waist. Anyway.
Below the belt.
So below the belt. Yeah. That's
Hey, we were talking about that earlier about impeachments.
Yes.
And President Clinton was only impeached once, but apparently the Donald's been impeached twice now.
Yeah, well, Donald always takes it over the top. And so, Cope, you're up at Purdue. We're trying to keep it at least on the rails
Just
some.
a little bit
So you
on
get
the
up to
rails.
Purdue, and you're talking to your buddies who you met in high school, and you got some chops on you already for some computer skills, right?
Yeah.
And you guys come up with this idea. What's the idea?
Yeah, so basically, me and my two buddies are a year below me in high school, but we've been friends for forever. We play games together all the time and stuff like that. But
So online gaming.
Yeah, online gaming. We're sitting in our computer science class at Purdue. One of the larger classes because it's freshman, sophomore year type class.
Is it a weed out kind of class a little bit maybe?
No, actually, it's like a pretty general class. The weed out
gotcha.
classes were like the next year and the following. But so we're all sitting together. We all have experience in computer science. We're in like this intro class basically, and
Because high school, just to kind of set it up for everybody, high school, you had more computer science classes available to you in high school than many other schools across the country.
yeah, at least at the time, it was very like uncommon to have computer science in high school, which I find very weird.
And you had a couple of years, didn't you?
4 years actually. All 4 years of high school, I was doing computer science stuff. And that's very unusual compared to pretty much every other high school in the country.
So you're at Purdue and you're doing an intro course, but you've had 4 years.
Yeah, so
you're
they
like,
didn't let us
"What?"
test out. Like at the time, they weren't letting people test out of it because it wasn't
Gotcha.
common to have computer
Makes
science
sense.
experience. And so, like, even though I already had probably 6 years of experience doing that type of stuff at the time, they were like, "Yeah, no, you can't test out of this. You can't." Skip this class. You have to take the intro class. And so, like, we're sitting there in, like, this intro class for a language we've already spent years programming in. And they're like, yeah, write a Hello World program. And they have a 3-hour lab to do that. And, like...
And for us non-computer science people, if you have 6 years of programming, how long will it take you to do a Hello World?
like however long it takes to type out "Hello World" on your keyboard. It's like,
No.
so I'm sitting there in this lab, right? And they're like, they have this huge like sheet that's like, here's what you got to do for your first lab, and it's a 3-hour lab, mind you, that they have every week. Each week is like progressively a bit harder, but it's an intro class, and so the first week's like, write a Hello World program, and I'm like, are you serious? But so I'm sitting there, I just write it out, go and turn it in, and I just leave within like the first 5 minutes, and like people are like looking up at me as I'm leaving, like, what the hell? How's this guy like leaving already? And I just went home and played Halo. But the funny part,
your tuition at good use, go ahead, Cope.
the funny part, right, is like I'm sitting there with my buddies from high school, and I'm just thinking we just did this lab, right? Like, we'll get our grades back almost immediately, I'd hope. I mean, programming makes things faster, automates stuff. But so, 2 weeks goes by, we still don't have our grades for that program. And it's like, it's all about automation. It's all about making things more efficient and faster. But they're hand grading our assignments
Right.
in program. And it makes no sense to us. And we're like, wait, like, how are we supposed to be taking these classes if they're not automating any of this? Like, other classes like math and everything, you can automate the whole like homework process and grading homework and stuff. But like computer science is all about automation. And so it's like, why are we not utilizing that for our classes? Like, it makes no sense, So, I mean, we went out the rest of the semester and, just experiencing people taking 2 to 4 weeks to give us back grades on our projects. And it made no sense at all to us.
So you decided to just create a program for it, right?
Yeah, and so basically we're like, what would it take to like prototype a platform where you could build assignments where they could be instantly graded?
And almost every computer science school or school offered class across the country could use this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we wanted to make. We were like, what would it take to build this? And so one weekend we just kind of sat there and like built out like this like beta version of the platform where we're just like, you can just build out your projects on here, and people can submit their code and get an immediate like grade for it, and even feedback based on like what kind of code they've written. And we're like, why are like all of these universities not doing this? Like this makes so much sense, especially for computer science. And like we wanted to build a very, customizable platform and everything. And what's really funny is like we did that for fun basically. But shortly after, Purdue had started this kind of startup incubator kind of competition called the Boiler.
And an incubator, for those people that don't know out there, this is to help companies that have good ideas to incubate them, take care of them so that they can actually flourish and grow into a company, right?
Yeah. Or to help a company grow at a faster rate than they would normally.
Isn't that in an accelerator? So you have the incubator kind of gets you started. The accelerator is like, you got a good job or you got a good idea. Now we can help you grow.
Yeah, it's kind of like you got the idea, you got the egg, you need to kind of
take care of it,
and then it births into a real idea and a real company, yeah.
And then you can grow it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we basically heard about this competition, the Boiler. There was like a little bit of prize money available for the people that came in first through third. And it's basically it's kind of like Shark Tank, if you've seen that show.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, pitch your idea, and this competition was just who has the best pitch and who has the best like product idea. And so the three of us worked on our product and kind of built it out a bit more, started talking to certain instructors to try to get some people on the platform and stuff. But, we put together our entire pitch deck where we could talk about it.
Sure.
And we actually ended up winning the competition, which gave us, I think it was around $10,000 in like grant money, basically.
He got some services like with the law firm to help him set up a company, and they got all kinds of other goodies.
So cash plus some services.
Yeah.
So now what are you thinking to yourself? Oh, maybe. So did you when you came up with the idea? Did you go, dude, I'm going to blow this out. We're going to make millions of dollars. Or did you just say, hey, this is kind of fun. This is my passion?
Yeah, it was more of just like hey, this is fun. Like, and I wonder if we can build something better than,
what they're using now.
Yeah, what our instructors are currently using.
And you mean build a computer that's better than people?
And didn't you also tell me, though, it takes when you get the more complicated computer programs, that it takes an hour for a TA to grade, give feedback, and then you essentially consolidate all that time. And it could be immediate feedback, and any university with half a mind would go, oh, yeah, this is totally beneficial.
Yeah, it basically, the first versions of our product obviously were a bit more limited, but our product right now basically eliminates the need for your TAs to hand grade anything. It'll give automated feedback on your code. It'll give you suggestions on how to better your code. It'll give you a grade, and it's all basically immediately, even with some of our instructors even run their exams on our platform.
Really?
To have everything with instant feedback and a timed exam.
So you essentially won this $10,000. You set up the company. Now you're working on it. And you're deciding kind of what to do with your life, right? Mm-hmm. And did you ever in your wildest dreams, first of all, think, can I say it, that you didn't graduate college?
Oh. Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, I honestly...
We all know it and we all joke about it because what? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I never thought that would be the case for me. I mean, my dad said earlier, the plan is graduate high school, graduate college, get married, have kids. But I never thought, it would be possible.
And by the way, you don't have to get married and then have kids. But if you want to have kids, you need to be married. That was
your thing.
Yeah, I'm just doing a call.
We're from the Midway.
I'm putting a lot of pressure on him. I've been doing some arranged stuff. I've got him arranged with a couple. Well, I picked one out, and I've had them dating for 3 years now.
Wow. So you said got into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never imagined that was even a thing that was a possibility anymore. Because the thing is, even these days, right? Most jobs, you need to have a college degree in order to get kind of the higher paying jobs.
But you got your college education through being accepted into
Y Combinator.
Yeah.
That was good. I did have 3.5 years of college education.
But you put your application in for Y Combinator, which said, hey, we got this company. We think it's going to do something. You guys can help accelerate our growth because we got a viable thing, a viable platform here, viable idea. You get accepted, right?
Yeah. So like right after the boiler, right? We won a little bit of money and some services and stuff. And we're just sitting there thinking like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, like we made something that works for people and people are using it. And like we won the competition, a little bit of money. So actually the following summer, so that was like spring, probably of 2014, I think. But so that summer, we basically just sat there and like paid ourselves to work on the platform. And so we kind of turned it into more of a business. We started kind of trying to sell to more places. And I just remember, like, it's fun thinking back about this, but, like, I just remember driving to my buddy Praha's house every day.
One of the co-founders.
Yeah, one of the co-founders. And I'd stop by a CVS and grab some energy drinks and, like, go over there, and we would just code until 8 or 10 p.m. And I'd drive home and, like, go to sleep, wake up, do the same thing the next day. It's just, like... This is weird thinking back on it, but yeah, after that summer, right, we were still working on it and kind of selling it throughout my like junior year.
Yeah.
And we like it's funny because we kind of jokingly applied to Y Combinator because we didn't think there was any chance that we would get in. Wow. And so we, put together our application. We put together a video of us talking about our platform and like what we wanted to do with it. And we were really surprised to get an email that was like, hey, we want to fly you out here to talk to us about this.
Whoa.
And so Colton, my other co-founder, he wasn't actually available for that weekend, but Praha and I flew out there and we had a good time just hanging around Mountain View and stuff. But then we went in.
Where were you? Because we didn't really say it. You said Mountain View, but you're talking Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah, Silicon Valley.
California. You're heading out to Cali.
Yeah, so they paid for our flights and everything to go out there in our hotel and everything. We flew out there. We kind of hang around for the first day because our interview was on the second day. And then second day we're practicing and everything for like...
Your pitch.
Yeah, our pitch. And
a pitch, just to clear it up, because once again, a lot of people may not know this. It's to say, hey, here's what our business idea is. This is why we think it solves a problem. This is why, or the number of people that actually will use this, and why we think it's a really good idea, right? And please help us.
Exactly. And with Y Combinator especially, it's like a very special event. They interview thousands of founders for each like batch of Y Combinator.
Yep.
They do like a winter batch and a summer batch. And they interview, thousands of people, and it's like the infamous Y Combinator interview, and it's like this extremely nerve-wracking time. Like you have 10 minutes on the dot to give your pitch, answer any questions they have, and then they just kick you out, and then they bring in the next people. And so I was super nervous. I've never been more nervous in my life.
Because you're a good guy, and you're just kind of low-key, and you're just kind of doing your thing.
Well, yeah, and so what it normally is they bring you into a room. There's 4 Y Combinator partners, and so that's just like the people that are comprising the group. They're running the group, and they're generally very famous people or very successful people. So people who have also run, multi-million-dollar startups or billion-dollar startups, and they've sold them.
Have there been any successful companies that come out of Y Combinator you can kind of talk about?
Yeah, just in the same week, didn't they have 2 big IPOs here recently?
Yeah, if you've ever heard of a little company called Airbnb or DoorDash, they both IPO'd within the same week for billions of dollars.
And didn't Dropbox come out of there?
Dropbox as well.
And there was another one that was in there. I can't remember. But there was like a number of them you rattled off to me, and I'm like, oh, Twitch? Didn't Twitch come out of there?
Yeah, Twitch.tv. One of the co-founders, it was a Y Combinator partner. I actually met him while I was out there for that time, Justin Kahn. He's a really cool guy.
So you have all these famous companies and that come out of Y Combinator, and then you also have a high hit rate, right? Because Tony, in VC and even your angel stuff, your hit rate of something being successful is what, 1 out of 10 new startups? Yours is a heck of a lot better, but
yeah, ours is better.
yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, you just think about it in general before we get into this whole pitch business. The old statistics were, I think it was 1 out of 5 companies make it past the first year. And you go about 5 years and see, it's like 5 companies out of 100 make it 5 years. I mean, just not backed by venture capital or angel investors, but just companies in general. It's really tough.
Then you get out to Y Combinator, and weren't you telling me some stats like crazy, like 2 out of 3 get acquired or something? Or but they have a
I don't
really
know the
good
official stats, but yeah,
they have a really good hit rate. Like their hit rate, they're not bringing you in if they don't think you're got a real chance of doing
because the acceptance rate last I checked was like less than 4% of people who apply to Y Combinator actually get in.
Gotcha.
They're very selective in who they bring in. They're really good at what they do because, I mean, it's just a group of very successful people who have done that before.
And they only want tech, right? They don't want, like, if you own a farm, they don't want you in Y Combinator. If you
they want things that are very scalable and, like, very real attempts at kind of like moonshotting.
Gotcha.
Basically an idea. But so, yeah, like it just a crazy amount of really successful people, pretty famous people that you're like, they just put you in the room with them. You sit there. There's just a board of people basically looking at you, and you give your pitch. And after you give your pitch, like you normally give it 3 to 5 minutes, you give a pitch,
sure.
And they start asking all their questions, and they like start drilling really hard on like anything that they think is like a little bit off or like something questionable. They just start.
I think that total addressable market's bullshit.
Exactly.
To me.
Well, so it was funny. I'm sitting there with Praha, right? It's just me and Praha, like, we're just both college kids sitting there in front of like a bunch of famous rich people. And like we give our pitch, and immediately like 2 of them kind of like stare at me, and they're just asking me a bunch of questions rapid fire. And like the other 2 are asking Praha questions. And so like I'm just sitting there like trying to like hold myself together while answering all these questions. Like I'm just super nervous. I'm like, oh my Lord, what am I doing here? But yeah, just rapid fire questions until the 10 minutes are up. But of course, the 10 minutes felt like an hour at the time. But yeah, just super intimidating. Like,
but you got through. Right?
Yeah, well, and the funny part, right, is like I got through, and I walk out of there feeling like, oh my God, that was awful. Like I don't think they're gonna accept us after that. Like. Wow, I left there feeling really bad, actually. And so Praha and I go back to the hotel room, and it's funny because with how it works out there.
We've just learned some great stuff from an amazing young man. He had a passion for tech, worked hard, had a great idea, and put it all in action. He didn't necessarily think about being a millionaire or building a company. He simply thought about solving a problem. He had a passion and went for the ride. His parents didn't come from money, but he worked hard and took the risk. What a great story. This is the end of part 1 of the story about Jacobi Petrucciani, entrepreneur, a passionate techie, and a desire to solve a problem. We'll see you next week on more Money with Mac and G, the limited series about those successful people and how it all happened.